Welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Melissa Hay. I'm from Pretty Agile, and I've got Claire with me as well today. We are hosting the special interest group Meetup with TeamForm today. Sam's here to give us a bit of an overview of how TeamForm works, what the tool does, and hopefully answer all of your tricky questions. So get thinking, team, about your tricky questions. You can use the chat function to type questions in. Sam's going to keep some eyes on those as well. We might take questions at the end once he's run through a bit of a demo of the product. However, we can take your questions, and we can take those conversations after the preso as well. So I might introduce Sam. Welcome aboard, Sam. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much, Melissa. And yeah, great to be here. So I'm Sam Yeats. I'm the founder and CEO of TeamForm. I'm going to get in today. We're going to talk a bit about the problem space that we're playing and why we exist. I'll share then a little bit about how TeamForm is focused on helping in that area, and then we'll jump into a demo in the tool, and then we'll leave a bunch of time for questions. So yeah, great to have you all here, and yeah, thanks again for the opportunity to meet in this group. So I'm going to start with a bit of a scenario. Imagine you're in an organization where the light switches are wired to the fire alarm. Now, it's okay. This fact is clearly documented in the employee handbook, buried down a few pages. What would we think would happen? For existing team members, they all know the deal. They've learnt the hard way. They've potentially done it a couple of times. It does take a little while to rewire our habits. But for new team members, everyone's going to know really quickly who's in the onboarding phase. Now, in this scenario, which is pretty wild, the feedback loop is at least instant. When you flick the switch, the bell goes off, the lights flash, and you can make the connection pretty quickly. However, in many organizations, there's miswirings that take months to learn about. We could be talking and using one set of language, but you don't know that we're actually talking and using different language until something's gone badly wrong. Or you just choose to live with these miswirings, and I call this phenomenon learned helplessness. It's where people just accept that things are miswired, and they learn to live with it, even though it could be pretty crazy. So yeah, I guess in the name of TeamForm, we're very focused on this unit of team. And the reason is that we've been big followers as practitioners ourselves, working in organizations, for organizations, scaling up large numbers of teams, and working with great cross-functional teams to improve their practices and become high performing. And if you read all the books, this new unit of organizations of cross-functional teams, product teams, is right at the center. In Marty Kagan's product book, Transformed, he calls the unit of a product team or an agile team the most fundamental of all product concepts is the notion of a cross-functional empowered team. Accelerate talks about small teams that work in short cycles to get things done. Sooner, Safer, Happier talks about these concepts. SAFE talks about these concepts. This is the core unit of how we're organizing around outcomes in organizations. And yet, this unit of the cross-functional team and team of teams, in our experience, is not in the HR system. It's not clearly seen in the corporate directory of the companies that are using these concepts. It's in most cases, it exists on spreadsheets, PowerPoint slides, Miro boards, and occasionally customers will build their own tools to manage these constructs. And so I love this meme that we normally talk about for microservices and technology, but the reality is underpinning a lot of the great systems and capabilities and digital infrastructure. There's someone with a spreadsheet trying to work out who is on what and keeping track of it. And so we call this sort of, from our experience in like living this, leading programs and these transformations, we want this perspective. We actually, to have a ticket in the conversation when we want to talk about delivery, we want to talk about the outcomes and the decisions that are needed to unblock progress and unblock our teams. If we can't show up and provide accurate reporting on who's working on what's it costing us, it's almost like that hygiene of understanding the basics is a ticket to actually have the real conversation about business decisions, trade-offs. If you can't get the basics right, you can't actually talk about the hard choices that you want the organization to make. And so, after thinking and dwelling and living these problems for years, out of all the problems we thought we wanted to go and solve, we thought this one was at the core, and so that's the genesis of TeamForm. Hey, to that end, and I know we've just got a small group here live, but for those watching in the future, you can post on whatever thread this might appear on. I would love chat. What do you call in your organization the unit of a team? The unit of people who work together to get things done, attending stand-ups or syncs together. What do you call that single unit of a team? So I'd love everyone if you can jump in and put that in. And then once you've answered that one, if you can also add, what do you call a collection of teams, like a team of teams? What's the language that you use to define that term in your organization? Cool. Agile team, squad, some good examples there. I recently ran a exercise with 40 enterprise technology leaders in the States, and in that session we used this placemat, and I'll send you a link so you can run this exercise for yourself. But essentially, there's 3 columns. Actually, the last one's hidden. Organizing structure, strategy, and work. And we ask people to fill in, what do you call the team structure at the company level versus the team structure at the team single unit of a team? And so doing this same exercise we're doing in the chat on a piece of paper. Same in the strategy column. What do you call strategy at the company level versus the team level? And then what do you call work at the company versus team level, where you might get down to epics and stories and initiatives, etc. And so, when you sum that up, so we grabbed out of that group of 40 who represented all different organization size, we just grabbed companies that have over 5,000 people and grouped them together to see, what's the different language that's used And you can see, well, it varies in, in each of these boxes. And if you think about, the fact that people are leaving organizations, joining new organizations, moving into these cross-functional team and ways of working, structures, moving out of them, the importance of having a shared language and having this clarified when you're onboarding into an organization can be really important in just giving everyone the clarity they need to be able to execute well. So that's just a little exercise and a thought starter for us to frame why might something like TeamForm exist. And so what is TeamForm? So we're now we'll get into the product, and I'll get into a demo in a moment. But TeamForm is a single platform to connect those cross-functional teams, whatever you might call them, to the strategy and the work of the organization. So we take the HR data, we allow you to build cross-functional team structures in TeamForm, and then we connect to the tools that you use for strategy and work. The common challenges that we solve through doing this is a focus on the workforce, the teaming, the organizational design, aspects of an overall delivery, ecosystem. Often quarterly planning is very focused on, what's the work, what are the outcomes, what are our dependencies, and then maybe as an aside and a follow-on conversation after we've all left big room planning is, well, do we actually have the people required to deliver that? Or could we optimize the way that we're teaming to get a better outcome and learn from the quarter that's been without disrupting and turning over teams? And so, by having this data in a system, it means that things like employee engagement surveys, rather than the results of those surveys where you're pulsing employees, just going to the line manager that's in Workday or SuccessFactors, we want to get those same results back to the Agile team, lead, or the release train lead, or the technology lead responsible for a certain area. So you can pivot and think about employee engagement through the lens of how you're actually organizing your people. Workforce planning, team and cost allocation, informing org design, and being able to flexibly move people around priorities. Even things like simple distribution lists. Often someone will be holding that spreadsheet of the resource plan, and then you'll have dozens of people that are updating distribution lists just to make sure that people are sent the right notifications of big room planning or other ceremonies. I might just jump into the tool, I reckon. The last thing I'd say is, TeamForm is another tool, and we're really conscious of the sort of proliferation of tools, and also the employee experience. What you'll see when we get into TeamForm is we want to bring together different data that might be across many of your tools into a common employee experience that connects the teams to the strategy to the work, and so we want to try and bring that together. And so we integrate with most of the common tools in these ecosystems, being Workday, SuccessFactors, or Microsoft Active Directory. So we take the people data, we take the work data, irrespective of where that might be, and then we also layer in the strategy data again wherever that might be, and we expose all this data for your own reporting through existing BI tools or APIs as required. just as a caveat, like we work in Australia, we've got 25% of the ASX 20 in TeamForm. We've jumped over every security, privacy hurdle. It's a key area of investment for us. It's a ticket to be doing what we do and earning that privilege. And so we've got SOC 2, GDPR compliance. We're happy to jump through procurement hurdles and security hurdles. We love those spreadsheets to fill out. And yeah, last year we opened up overseas, so we can we've now got a team in Europe and the UK, and we can spin up instances of TeamForm, in the US and Europe, in addition to our home ground and home turf here in Australia. And in saying that, yeah, we're an Australian-owned, operated company. We're entirely customer funded. So we're not we don't have massive investors, but we're now in our 10th year of operation, and have some great customers on board driving our product roadmap. With that, I might jump into the tool, just bring to life a couple of aspects of TeamForm, and then I'll pause, and we'll really keen for you to think about questions, scenarios, situations you've been in, and we can see how that might play out in TeamForm, if that's okay. So let me jump into TeamForm. So I'm Sam. I'm in an Agile team called Alpha. This might be my first experience and my first day of working in this organization. I'm allocated to Alpha. I'm in this case, a chapter. Again, the language is completely configurable to your organizational language. But this is sort of my home area, my reporting line, whereas Alpha is the place I go to do work, attend stand-ups, and be a team in this area. So I'm really interested. I want to see what Alpha is. So Alpha is an Agile team. It exists, if I look in the structure, it exists in the release train, the Agile release train that is called local fulfillment, which is part of the logistics division in the digital business unit under this retailer. So I can see exactly where this team resides. I can see that it's got 15 members in this team. It's probably an slightly oversized team, because I keep using it for demos and adding people to it. But we can see exactly how many people are in the team. The team's also defined a purpose statement. So as a team, they can come in, edit. Why do we exist? What are we here to solve? What are we responsible for in our purpose? They can set a background and give themselves a bit of an identity. They can also connect to where the work is happening. If it's in the plan view ecosystem, then Agile Place or plan view OKRs. If it's in Jira or Jira Line, it could be those, or whatever tools, Clarity, Rally, we can connect into those. I'll come back to the tags and the team topology concepts in a moment. And let's just have a quick look at the team itself. So here I can see there's 15 members of the team. I can see the gray being the job title from Workday or SuccessFactors coming through. But as we know, the job titles rarely indicate the role on the team. And in this case, Abigail is our fearless, product owner, or whatever role you want to call that persona in your organization. Abigail comes from, this is a cross-functional team. We don't all work for the same manager. And so it's quite important that I know where different people are coming from and coming together in this beautiful sort of unit of the alpha agile team. And so Abigail is actually from risk management, Aidan's from infosec, and we've got a variety of people forming this cross-functional team to deliver on our outcomes. We can see a link to how our work, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but how our work contributes up to the company strategy. I'll go there in a moment. So that's the unit of the team. We call that, like, as you can build that out, get out of spreadsheets. Often the spreadsheets are decentralized. They're in different area. Each release train might have their own spreadsheet. And so step one of getting into TeamForm is having this common collaborative, really easy to maintain, view of who's on what across all of your teams. If you want to add someone in a really simple scenario to this team, you can just search. Oh, there's no bands. You can search, assign, and add. So it's really quick to just get in and build up that team. At any time, everyone just wants to grab a CSV or download, who's on this team or who's in this team of teams. So you can still grab the data and do what you need with it. There's an API that exposes this data as well. So it's, it can be leveraged for other processes. And so, yeah, step one of getting into TeamForm is just answering the question, who is on what, and how are we organized? If I just go up a level, so I'm now going to just jump up to the Agile release train. So here it's a slightly different view. We can still have a team purpose, but you can see here we're tagging in other attributes of this team. So this team may be responsible for a customer journey, or a business segment, or a specific IT application. Often people might not know to search for local fulfillment. They might want to search for that team that's looking after the iOS app. And so instead of navigating by the structure and trying to find where this is happening, you might want to search by what are the teams working on the iOS app or the customer journey and get straight back to that same place. So we just want to connect the data, connect the dots between these different areas. You can see at the Agile release train area or the team of team level that you can have members at that level. So these, so any roles that exist that sit above the individual Agile teams can be added here. They can also have specific roles assigned to them, like Agile release train lead or any other roles. And you can also see the teams that exist, and you can quickly go in and I'm not feeling creative. Where are we? New team file. I can come in and create a new team. You can configure the different team types in here that are permitted to be created under an Agile release train, which just means that you're again trying to encourage that shared understanding when we call something an Agile team versus center of excellence. We're not coming up with new terms or, like you want to have this shared language across the organization that you can maintain centrally. Oh, and I've already had a new team fight that was not very creative. So yeah, that's a little bit there. I'm now just going to jump in to principles. Often people have chiseled down into a PowerPoint page or some organizing principles of what we want our Agile teams to look like. It's very hard to, that they're shared in a PowerPoint or on a Confluence page somewhere. But how do we actually know if teams are adhering to those, or if every team is actually 15 members, and that's the optimal way in your organization to organize people? You want to be able to refine and iterate these organizing principles. So you can actually configure those in TeamForm and see exactly, how the team, aligns to those principles. So we're just empowering the teams to see that, rather than someone centrally coming around and saying, hey, you don't comply, after you've gone through all the effort of standing up the team to do that. Good question in the chat there. A principle, something like team agreement. I'd say principles are more like standards or organizing principles in terms of what we want the shape of things to look like. In terms of team agreements, that's great, like a great segue to another piece of TeamForm, which is it might be interactions or agreements between teams. So these could be dependencies, team topology, interaction modes, and this just allows us to create a view of dependencies or commitments between teams to indicate, for example, the alpha team provides a service to the architecture team, or there's a facilitation relationship between the alpha team and the trading team. And so these can be reviewed on a quarterly basis to identify team interactions. I'll just show two last elements of the core value proposition of TeamForm. So once we've connected our team data, our work data, and strategy data. Now this is a bit of a messy view because it's all test data, but we then allow visibility, connecting all that data together to allow teams to see how their work connects to the epics, the initiatives in the organization, to the KRs, to the company, all the way up to the company strategy. So we want to be able to allow teams to see how how their work is contributing up to the company strategy. And we want to have the company to look down and see, oh, who are the teams? Do we have the right people, the right capacity working on our highest priority challenges? And so, bringing together the teams, the people, the work and the strategy into a common view, just to build that shared understanding. The last thing I'll talk to, but this is probably for another day. Once we've got to that, we've solved those basic challenges of who's on what, who's where, what's our team structure, what teams are interacting with who, and how do we improve that those interactions between teams. The next sort of step in TeamForm is considering how do we use that for workforce planning and for planning out through the lens of a QBR or a PI planning event. And so I won't go into that deeply today, but again, we want to get people out of spreadsheets. We want to allow leaders to have a clear view of the workforce that they have, the cost of that workforce, so they're not all making different financial assumptions on what their workforce costs, and be able to request and plan out future workforce needs based on the work that they're defining. And so TeamForm has a bunch of capability in that space. We also have practices published on our website around building the muscle of workforce planning for customers that get to that capability. So I think that's the core that I wanted to get to today. More than happy to show you other parts of the tool as we go through questions, if there's any questions, but really appreciate the time to share a bit of what we're doing. Might jump. Got another question about Planner is taking information from other sources like Jira Align, or is it a place where teams can develop their plans? Yeah, so so what we would take from a tool like Jira Align is the strategy view and the work view, and TeamForm essentially would allow you to do the cross-functional team planning. I guess where one of our strengths is, and capability that other tools don't generally take into account, is managing both personas. If you think about an agile structure of cross-functional teams, inherently there's the team itself, and they need a view of who they've got from each org unit in the organization that are coming together to form that cross-functional team. And then the chapter or the line managers need a view of where the heck are all my people that work for me? What agile release train are they in? And so if we look at, say, service design as an area, it might not be the right service design. Let's see. So this is providing a view of of where my service design people, what team are they deployed? Are they deployed to? So we want to cater for both personas. And so if you think about Jira Align, PlanView, and other tools in that space, we would integrate and pull through OKRs, the work and the portfolio structures, and TeamForm would focus on the team construct and the workforce planning, elements. So I hope that addresses your question.
And Sam, just building off that, so how far down into the planning of the work does TeamForm go? So you showed us sort of a view of how work connects back to epics and then epics to strategies at some point in there. How far down into sort of the day-to-day work or the iteration to iteration work will TeamForm show you?
Yeah, so we're not a work management or a strategy management tool.
Yep.
What we want to do is connect every person to the tool that's being used in that area where
Yes.
the work is being done. And so, in many environments, there might be Jira, Monday.com, other tools for different, when you think about all types of work across an organization. So we want to be sort of a bit of the gateway employee experience to be getting to those tools and those and that capability. But in TeamForm, we don't do work planning.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
What I guess the closest we get is when you're making workforce decisions, rather than just making those workforce decisions based on who asks first for the person. What we're doing here is, for example, when Alpha Team is requesting to go from 1 to 5 architecture people, we're telling the architecture lead, what is the priority that this relates to that Alpha is working on? What are the unique skill requirements that are needed? So we're connecting the work to the skill needs. And so the architecture team that in many organizations is quite constrained in capacity, they can consider all of the needs and prioritize rather than be on the back foot. So yeah, good question. We don't do work management. We're focused on the workforce side.
Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you.
Can you just building off that, can you show us what that would look like for like the head of the architecture chapter to kind of see that demand if your test head is
Absolutely. So let's just flip our persona from the release train lead of local fulfillment to the architecture lead of that has 380 members. Normally this would have the HR structure. So if the architecture lead has line managers that everyone reports to, normally that's how it would show up, just not in this test data. So here I can see exactly the directory that I see. Instead of these being purple tags, because I'm looking at a line management area, this is showing me the teams that each of my people are deployed to. So it's the pivot of the matrix, of this structure to cater for the architecture lead's persona. So I can see who's on what. When I look at the planning perspective of this area, when we go in, we can see that architecture has people in 4 different business units across this organization. If we drill down into logistics, we can see local fulfillment has 1 person at the moment. If we drill in here, we can see that 1 person's Charlotte, that's assigned, who has these skills from their Workday or Success Factors profile, and is playing this role of a coach on the team. We can also see here, as the architecture lead, a request in this quarter's PI plan or QBR that this area would like to go from 1 person to 5 people. So there's an increase, there's an ask for an additional 4. And so before giving names, knowing that I've got 389 architects that work for me, before I commit to the name of who's going to fill those, I can decide how many people do I, across all the other needs that I've got, because everyone's asking for more architects, I can see that, and I can say, okay, I think I can only give you 3. You asked for 5, I can only give you 3. So we can put that in there. I can also see the full history of Sam asked times, but didn't he only ask for 3 last time? Why is it showing as 5? And so there's a full history rather than he said, she said. There's a full history of, actually he changed his mind 5 times, and that's why it's currently showing as this. And so I can consider all of the needs and across the area. And once I'm happy, I can hit submit responses. It doesn't tell, it'll tell local fulfillment that architecture thinks that you'll get 3 people. And until we land it, you don't actually need to allocate the person. When you get to that next step of, okay, well, who are we we've decided our plans. We want to actually allocate people ahead of the quarter ahead. The team builder view shows the architect leader who's under allocated, like who's just been onboarded that's not yet in a team. Who's assigned to what at the moment. And then, I can see, I've promised architecture 3 people. I've only allocated 2 next quarter so far. We can drag and drop, Aiden across to Alpha, and allocate them out for that quarter. So, and that sort of closes the circle on the on the process. So that just gives you a quick view, of workforce planning. We do have a real focus on, this is where people want to get to, in a target state where the pain, there's a lot of pain around workforce planning and making good decisions. We want to focus first on getting people that core. This is enabled by having a good view of who's in what team. And so, how do we prioritize getting people into that? Even just knowing who's where before then turning on, this other functionality around planning and forecasting and financials, etc. So, but good, really good question. So,
And Sam, I saw that on some of the tags there, you've got like percentages of FTE. So if people are split between 3 teams, or if people are part-time and that kind of thing, the tool's going to allow you to configure for that, and then also respond to that as well.
Exactly. So yeah, and you can have business rules in the tool to minimize slicing if that's something you want to prioritize.
Yeah, that'd be good too. Yeah.
And you'll also see it in some of those principles. So, so you can bring those traffic lights of, hey, this team doesn't have a dedicated product owner, that the product owner's in 5 teams, or, we've got people that are allocated to this team, that are under 1 FTE. You want to bring that to the surface. It might be the reality, but it's better to be able to see and react to that rather than just make it, it's happening under the covers. Cool. And Vani, there's a question in the chat. What are the skills in your Agile teams? BAs, UX, devs, test. Yeah, really good question. We think about skills. I'll just go back over to the team side. Skills in a couple of different ways. So if your organization has organized people in the HR system, by a broad skill category, like software engineering is all in one area, architecture is all in another area, then this sort of organizational skill structure, what often can be called, chapters or capability, people organized into those functions, that can be the skill lens. The other angle is the skills on someone's role, and so that's a more personalized level of skill, that might come from your HR system, or your if you've got a skill platform. Here we can see that Abigail is interested in active learning, search engine optimization, front-end languages. And so this allows us actually to find people that you might not otherwise be able to find when you're trying to fill roles in certain teams. So yeah, there's a skills mean a lot of different things to every company. But yeah, I think the main outcome is we want to have the right skills in a team to achieve the outcome rather than handoffs everywhere. And so being able to think about that in a helpful way, we think is really, key element of the way, way we want to work, or way we want to enable our customers to work. Any other questions?
I think that was really great, Sam. Really appreciated the overview and how you explained how TeamForm's bringing in so many other systems to give us this really unique view of the world for our Agile teams and our teams of teams, and how it connects to so many other things in the organization. So I thought that was really great. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the awesome questions too that we had through the chat. Before I let Sam go, and is there anything else anyone wants to ask him while we've still got him here? All right. Well, in that case, I want to say thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for everyone coming along to the meetup. We will have another meetup running in a couple of weeks' time. We'll send out a note shortly about that. We've got another tooling vendor that's going to come and share their stuff. And we will make the recording available for this as well. Sam, if you want to share some PowerPoint slides, we can also put those up with the recording too. Hope you all have a fabulous weekend, and thanks so much for coming along.
Thank you.